teachers of Reddit, what is the craziest thing you have seen on a student's social media? I'm more interested in why would a teacher stalk their students on social media in the first place. When I worked as an RAB, sometimes we would look at students' social media, only if it was public, when we were concerned about mental states, etc. and thought they might be at risk. This can have the opposite effect too, though. I was in a reasonably troubled period of my life, always silently battled depression, still do, but never really let that out, and wrote a blog to just get stuff off my mind in a very sane and light-hearted way. Wrote about how I didn't like my parents sometimes, and this lady who was supposed to just help me with homework read it, and wrote a report about how I hated my parents, and should be moved into a group home, because I was a threat to them. I'm sorry that happened to you. That lady was way out of line. Legally my students were adults, and confidentiality was the linchpin of our relationship with them. If we were concerned about something we would speak to them directly. Most of the students had already declared their MH issues to us, so us checking in with them was not unusual. Not exactly social media originally, but it definitely ended up there. I teach high school and the students were talking about a middle school student who wrote a novel. It turned out to be an extremely graphic fan fiction of two of the male middle school teachers. The girl that wrote it was in 7th grade. We are talking about full-on novel, around 200 pages and 13 chapters. Supposedly it is only book 1 in the series. The crazy thing is, my students showed me one paragraph before I knew what it was, and it was hands down the best technical writing of any student I have ever had. Again, I teach high school. She was in the 7th grade. Unbelievably well written, and unbelievable a 7th grader was able to describe things with such disturbing detail. The amount of dedication that must have took though is crazy. There is no doubt she worked harder on that than 99% of middle schoolers work on anything lol. Talent can be expressed in many shapes and forms, I guess lol. Not me but my wife. A student posted a suicide note on Snapchat. Another student showed it to my wife. She ran to the front office and called 911. Kid was home with his mom and had overdosed in his room. Kid was taken to a hospital and survived. Saved his life. Good on both your wife and that other student. How many others had seen it and not said something? I don't know exactly, but a group of friends for sure. The student was the only one to take action, and it's great she recognized the seriousness of the situation and reported it. I feel like killing myself every time I use Snapchat as well. PLS, do not commit suicide, and if you want to talk send me a message. Thanks for being so kind. I'm only suicidal when I'm using Snapchat, which is not often, so it's all good. Many of these comments are saying it is scary for a teacher to look up a student's social media. I don't really understand. In my country, teachers and students that are friend on Facebook is a normal thing. And isn't when your Facebook friend make a post, you can see it on your Facebook wall. Why the need to look up? One of the first lessons I was taught in my Intro to Ed course was to never friend students on social media until they graduate. This was back when I was going into secondary education. Now I teach college and I'll accept students on social media once they've taken all 3 courses I teach, so there's no conflict of interest. The USA is full of opportunists who line to take advantage of people. So we tend to keep our children in bubbles, thinking that will protect them. So, in my school district, teachers can lose their jobs for following students on social media. That being said, sometimes a student will get worried about something that they see posted and will bring me a screenshot of it. So, due to that, the craziest thing I've ever seen was one of our students pointing a gun at the camera and threatening to turn the walls of the school red with blood. I took the student who reported it to the front office and made a full report to administration. Never saw the kid who posted that again. Dodged a bullet there for sure. I used to DM my science teacher pictures of birds because he used to be an Earth Ranger and was really into birds, but I was bussed down to guidance and they gave me a whole lecture about maintaining proper boundaries. Fighting videos like him talking fighting, and teachers in the background watching the whole thing happen without doing a thing to separate it. Some kids were so ecstatic to show me too. What a weird world. We used to have fights in the boys' locker room before football practice and gym all the time. Usually one coach would sit there and watch to make sure we didn't go too far. Looking back on it now, it's unbelievable they let us do that. Kind of wish they stopped it because I broke my pinky finger and didn't want to tell my mom. So now it's not that functional. A lot of schools tell the teachers they're not allowed to touch the students to break up fights to avoid lawsuits. Kind of the opposite for me. I'm a student, Hoss an actor and singer in musical theater. At our school, you're not supposed to friend our director on Facebook until after you graduate, as like a graduation gift from her, but she just retired, so she said everyone can now friend her, and boy I tell ya I had no idea how outgoing she is. She's like 68 and has more of a life than I do. She's also one of the most praised directors in our state. She directed the all-state show. The best theater students from the main high schools in our states are chosen to be in one huge show each year, and it's a huge honor, and her directing it was a big deal. This was posted about 2 of my former students by people who witnessed what happened. There was a block party happening in town or something similar. The 2 got into a fight, so the young woman jumped into the car to leave. Her husband, I think they were married, jumped on the roof of the car playfully, but she was angry and wasn't having any of that. She started speeding off down the street, and he was whisked off of the hood. When he hit the ground, the impact killed him. It was very tragic. These 2 kids were a year out of high school roughly, and had a small child. All in an attempt to beat my teacher, who currently has 3 more karma than me. I need to beat him. Grammar mistake. Something unusual I usually see. I'm not sure if it's intentional or slip of the finger. Using article with nouns or adjectives starting with vowel sounds. All in a attempt. I'm a teacher, but you just got my upvote. For the reminder and upvote, I shall this post. Are you sure? Followed by a preposition I often see in an attempt to. This is like the reverse of this question, but when I was in high school, this girl in my grade made a quiz about which my grade student are you, where you answered some questions and got given a student name, picture, and the girl who made its honest opinion of you. The result: the answers were not very friendly, so much that it was obvious who had made the quiz, but our teachers were adamant about our personal privacy and refused to look at the quiz at all. There were no consequences, but eventually she took it down. Doesn't fit the topic, but a teacher of mine stalked my Instagram profile and found a comment that was about 3 months old that said our teachers don't have a hard time anymore. Let's change that. I didn't thought that anyone would ever take this serious, but because this teacher hates me, I almost got a lawsuit and wasn't allowed to go on our class trip. Some teachers really shouldn't be teachers. Some are more childish than the youth. It would be quite creepy for a teacher to look up students on social media. It's not that uncommon to look at someone's public info. It's only creepy if you become obsessed or use that info in a harmful way. I've looked up my neighbors, kids' teachers, my co-workers, and women that my bud has just started dating. I'm sure if I was a teacher I'd look and see what some of my students were posting online. One student created multiple fake Facebooks with the names of their classmates. They started a group chat between these fake profiles and would act out dramatic things, someone confessing a crush, someone saying they hated their best friend. They'd screenshot clips of these fake chats and send it to real people. Real life drama based on the fake drama would erupt in school. I stay a mile away from all my kids and parents on social media. I'm not going down for stalking or something because Karen wants an easy payday. Yeah, if you even look at them when they are off campus, you're going to prison, buddy. Especially since my area of expertise is 3 to 8 year olds. SKRRRRRT. At risk student's parent had my cell phone number. Student got my number and texted me telling me that she was going to commit suicide, middle school age. I immediately called the police and my administration. Police was at her house within minutes and all was settled. Student was okay in the end. #TEACHERLIFE. 8th graders posted his wake and bake session on Snapchat. Someone showed the dean and now he has it saved on his phone. For the rest of the year, that kid was the most straight-laced dude. Literally think the dean was blackmailing him into being a better student. Lol. I guess the dean hates bread and pastries. Didn't happen at my school, but happened in the county I worked in. Kids got hold of a teacher's cell phone and airdropped her nudes to the whole school, and the kids posted them all over the Facebook and Instagram. IDK if that teacher continues working at that school or not, but I wouldn't have been able to. And flipping this topic on its head, some of my friends have a teacher that close to her entire class follows, and she constantly posts pics of her in a bikini, and she is like 43. I had to stop teaching photography in middle school because of the photos the kids would upload. Sometimes they would just give me their memory card without ever checking what was on it. College professor. One of my students jumped on the Trump build the wall thing, while her BF lab partner was definitely a South American immigrant. Drug use, death threats, nudes, hate speech. Other students would show us in class. An extremely racist attempt to be funny, which ended with him a top 10 student getting suspended. I don't follow my students' social media accounts for many good reasons. I haven't ever looked at a student's SM. I need to compartmentalize. A friend of mine who is a teacher found a live stream of his science class. Why are teachers on students' social media?